Mockingjay was the chapter of Hunger Games where production turned darker, heavier, and more dangerous than anything before it. Behind the underground escapes, capital battles, and emotional breakdowns were real accidents, rewrites, physical injuries, and psychological strain nobody expected. These are 15 hidden facts from Mockingjay that reveal how brutal the filmmaking truly became. Fact 1. Jennifer Lawrence suffered permanent lung sensitivity from a smoke incident. During one of the underground escape scenes, a fog machine malfunctioned and blasted unfiltered chemical smoke straight into Jennifer Lawrence's face. The pressure of the blast shocked her, and the fumes made her cough nonstop for hours. Medics had to sit with her off camera while her eyes watered and her breathing slowly calmed down. Later, she admitted the incident left her lungs more sensitive for years. Even light smoke effects made her throat burn during later filming days, which forced the crew to adjust certain setups to protect her. The moment became one of the most serious health scares behind the scenes. And as harsh as that moment was, the next scene pushed the entire cast into even more intense conditions that none of them were prepared for. Fact 2. The sewers scene was so claustrophobic. Actors vomited. Between takes, the famous mutt chase in Mockingjay was filmed inside real abandoned water tunnels. These tunnels were narrow, humid, and filled with stagnant air. The smell of wet concrete and old pipes made breathing difficult, and the heat inside the tunnels trapped every bit of body heat. Several actors started to panic when they realized how tight the space actually was, and a few vomited between takes because the air felt too thick to inhale properly. The crew used large industrial fans to push air through the tunnels, but the relief was temporary. Many performers later said it was the most uncomfortable filming experience of their careers, and while the tunnels caused physical distress, the next element introduced to the set was frightening for an entirely different reason. Fact 3. The mutt creatures were first built as real animatronics. Before CGI was approved for the mutt creatures, the effects team created full-scale animatronics for testing. These mechanical beasts were built with glowing eyes, wet rubber skin, and jaws that snapped open with loud clicks. When switched on, they moved with unpredictable, twitchy motions that made the room feel unsettling. Several crew members admitted they could not stay in the workshop alone because the animatronics looked too lifelike. One technician said the creatures made small shifting noises even when powered off, which disturbed anyone working near them. Because the animatronics frightened people more than expected, the production switched to CGI for the final version of the mutts. But while those machines stirred fear, the next challenge created something far more emotional and heartbreaking on set. Fact 4. Philip Seymour Hoffman's death-forced massive script rewrites. Philip Seymour Hoffman died unexpectedly before finishing his final scenes as Plutarch Heavensbee. His passing left the production without one of their most important characters. Several emotional monologues he was meant to deliver had to be removed entirely, and entire story threads were rewritten so the movie could still make narrative sense. The crew described the rewrite process as painful because every missing scene reminded them of Hoffman's loss. The decision to rework the ending and shift dialogue to other characters was done with extreme care to honor him. The final film contains silent tributes to Hoffman that only the cast and crew fully understand. And if that emotional weight was difficult to carry, the next moment created a different kind of heaviness on set. Fact 5. The Hanging Tree song caused real psychological stress for extras. The haunting melody of the hanging tree was performed repeatedly on set during the rebellion scenes. Because the song had such a slow rhythm and dark meaning, extras found themselves feeling uneasy the longer they sang it. Some said the tune stayed in their minds for days, and a few struggled to sleep because the repetition made them anxious. Background performers whispered that the chorus felt almost hypnotic after long rehearsals. Even the sound department mentioned the track created an eerie atmosphere whenever it played through speakers. But while the song unsettled people emotionally, the next detail challenged the cast in a far more physical way. Fact 6. Julianne Moore wore on only one wig, but it took 3 hours to style. Daily President Coin's signature silver hair was created with one extremely delicate wig. The fibers were so thin that stylists had to comb it strand by strand every morning. If one section bent wrong, the entire style needed to be redone from the start. On some mornings, the wig required 3 full hours of work before it was camera ready. Moore said she often arrived at set long before anyone else, just so the team had time to prepare her look. The fragile nature of the wig meant the actress had to move carefully during scenes to avoid creasing it. And even though styling the wig was difficult, the next on-set incident involved something far more painful. Fact 7. Liam Hemsworth got bruised ribs in a fight scene with Jennifer Lawrence. During one of the District 13 conflict scenes, Jennifer Lawrence misjudged the distance between her hand and Liam Hemsworth's chest. When she swung during a heated take, her strike landed much harder than planned. Hemsworth stepped back in pain, and by the end of the day, a deep bruise had already formed across his ribs. Despite the hit, he continued filming without stopping and even joked about it later. Crew members said the bruise lasted for more than a week. And with injuries, stress, and mechanical creatures already affecting the cast, the chaos behind Mockingjay was only beginning. Fact 8. The mass grave scene used real human hair. From a donation center, to make the mass grave look more haunting, the effects team chose a disturbing method. They mixed donated human hair with ash and silicone bodies so the burned remains on screen would look unsettlingly real. When the wind machines blew across the set, strands of hair lifted and moved naturally, creating an eerie, lifelike effect that unsettled even the seasoned crew. Some extras admitted they avoided looking directly at the bodies because the realism felt overwhelming. The team later explained that synthetic hair melted too easily under lights, so real hair was the only option that held its shape. And if using real hair sounds shocking, the next technique pushed the boundaries of realism even further. Fact 9. The Capitol explosion miniatures were so realistic the studio thought they were CGI. Instead of building digital environments, the effects team created entire Capitol blocks as tiny, handcrafted miniatures. Each structure had miniature windows, signs, and balconies. Microcharges were placed inside the models, and high-speed cameras captured the explosions frame by frame. When the footage was sent to the studio, executives assumed the shots were entirely CGI and were stunned to learn they were practical effects. The tiny details, fireballs, and collapsing structures looked so believable that even editors asked to confirm the method twice. These miniature explosions remain one of the film's most convincing practical effects. But while the explosions thrilled the studio, the next challenge nearly knocked the breath out of the star herself. Fact 10. Jennifer Lawrence had trouble breathing in the tight Mockingjay suit. The Mockingjay armor looked sleek on screen, but in real life, it squeezed Jennifer Lawrence's ribs so tightly she struggled to take deep breaths. During action scenes, the pressure caused lightheadedness, forcing her to sit down between takes. She sometimes had to unclip the torso section just to breathe normally. Crew members fanned her with cooling units, while wardrobe teams loosened sections of the armor. Lawrence joked that the suit looked powerful, but felt like being wrapped in a solid cage. The design team eventually created a slightly expanded version for scenes requiring running or shouting. And while the suit restricted her breathing, the next setup brought extreme heat that affected the entire cast. Fact 11. The rescue PETA scene was lit with military-grade floodlights. To mimic the harsh brightness of a Capitol security zone, the crew used military-grade floodlights normally intended for nighttime search operations. These lights blasted enormous heat, warming the set instantly and causing the actors to sweat heavily within minutes. Hydration breaks became constant because performers were overheating faster than expected. Some lights had to be shut down intermittently because they raised the room temperature to uncomfortable levels. Although the effect looked incredible on camera, it pushed the cast to the limit physically. And while the lighting created intense heat, the next element introduced something even darker on purpose. Fact 12. Donald Sutherland requested Snow's death scene. Be more disturbing, Donald Sutherland believed President Snow should look like a collapsing empire in human form. He personally requested makeup that showed him as a rotting symbol of corruption. Artists added cracked skin, darkened veins, bloodshot eyes, and a sickly pallor that made him appear ghost-like. Sutherland sat in the chair for hours each day to achieve the look. When he arrived on set, extras reacted instinctively to his unsettling appearance. His request made Snow's final moments far more visually powerful than originally scripted. But even the chilling makeup could not compare to the next decision, which changed the entire atmosphere of District 13. Fact 13. The real District 13 set was built, underground in an abandoned power facility. Instead of constructing studio rooms, the filmmakers shot several District 13 sequences in a real subterranean complex beneath an old power plant. The cold concrete walls, natural echo, and narrow hallways gave the scenes a rough authenticity that matched the script perfectly. Cast members said the temperature dropped sharply the deeper they went, and the silence inside the tunnels felt heavy and isolating. This underground environment helped actors maintain the tense, bunker-like mood their characters needed. The location also made sound engineers work harder because footsteps echoed unpredictably. And while the tunnels created a chilling atmosphere, the next problem came from the armor meant to protect the rebels. Fact 14. The Mockingjay armor was so heavy. Stunt doubles could not run in it. The original armor design included real metal plates that were far heavier than expected. When stunt doubles tried running during action scenes, many tripped because the weight pulled their balance backward. The armor also clanked loudly, ruining audio takes. After multiple falls, the effects team created a secondary foam version that mimicked the metal look but weighed a fraction of the original. This allowed actors to move safely without sacrificing style. The metal version was still used for close-up shots where movement was limited, but even lightweight armor could not protect the cast from the final surprise waiting outdoors. Fact 15. The final meadow scene was shot with real bees nearby. The peaceful ending scene was filmed in an open meadow filled with blooming flowers, which naturally attracted bees. Cast and crew were asked to stay calm and avoid sudden movement as bees drifted close to the cameras. Jennifer Lawrence was stung on her foot during one of the takes, but finished the scene before seeking treatment. The buzzing insects created unexpected tension, yet the glowing landscape looked perfect on camera. The production decided not to relocate because the natural setting matched the emotional tone too well to abandon. And knowing how much chaos, danger, and improvisation went into Mockingjay makes the film's quiet final moment feel even more surreal. If you want more hidden Hollywood secrets like this, hit subscribe and stick with us for the next deep dive.